Welcome to the Parking Advisory Committee meeting on Monday, April 22nd. And then I guess I'll start with if there's any public comment, and I don't see anyone other than us. Any additions or deletions to the agenda? Then first item on the agenda, new Gillette Pond parking conditional use permit update.
I did see, where did I see the comment on that? Well, it looked like, was it you that reached out to Josh on that? Or was it?
Mine was about Johnny Brook. No, excuse me, mine was about West White. So I did not.
Okay. So West White would really be this one here, right? New Gillette Pond parking?
Makes sense.
Yes. Okay. Did I read the wrong one? I'm sorry.
I may have confused you.
Okay, Gillette Pond parking conditional use permit update. So, I asked Josh who could help us with the conditional use permit that would need to go before the Development Board of Review, and he said, John, that's a good question. Staff, including myself, do not have much extra time to devote to preparing for conditional use review and going through the process. Perhaps Pete could help provide some of the needed information, and we could hire engineer Tyler Billingsley to help with compiling a presentation for the Development Board of Review, Josh. And so I think what we were doing is we weren't yet ready to recommend to the select board that they proceed with adding the parking on the side of West White Hill across from the dam. But we were investigating what steps would be required if they were to go ahead. And I guess I'll wonder if at this point, whether we don't need to focus anymore on those details and that they would work themselves out if we were to recommend it to the select board, and if the select board were then to decide to go forward. What do we think? Do we need to
No, I think,
investigate any further on this?
no, I think I agree with you that my concern would be that we would put a lot of work into the conditional use permit in that, and then something about the dam construction or something would change. And we would be back to square one.
Maybe we weren't gonna go ahead with seeking the conditional use permit until the select board said, let's do this, because
Okay.
it requires money. So we could then refocus on if and when we want to recommend it to the select board, which in the last meeting, we didn't think we were ready.
Okay, no, I think I'm fine with that. What do we think we would need to have before we would be ready?
I have a question. I'm
Please.
sorry, I wasn't here last time. So this is for how many parking spaces we're hoping?
Was it 6?
That's
Eight,
what
I think.
that's what I
130.
thought, but I was just wondering if. Okay,
There was talk, and I wasn't the one that was saying this, but I was hearing it, that of wanting to see how things went with the dam. I'm not strongly opinionated on this with the information I have at the moment, so whether we,
Is there a downside to us recommending the concept to the select board and having them discuss it?
guess not.
I think we should put that in our short-term goals, is maybe just the do a presentation to the select board with, you know, photographs and the ideas of what we're doing. We got a quote from Pete and all those things, and just to make
Yeah.
sure we're not missing something important before we try to put all the paperwork together.
Yeah.
Does that sound good to you?
Yeah, do
And-
we want to wait for John and Diane, or do we want to set a time to talk to the select board, or have it be a goal?
And Chuck, when you say talk to the select board, are you thinking about in person, or are you thinking send something in writing? I just wondered how.
Good question. I was thinking a presentation in person, but I'm open to suggestions. How about, if we're not sure, how about we send them a note and get a conceptual approval of what we're looking to do and go from there. You want to try something like that?
I mean, I guess trying to think of a downside is we'd spend $4,000 and no one would use it, but that doesn't seem very likely.
I think we got that covered.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, I think, so I guess my question is, and then Matt's question really is, do we do a live presentation to select board, or do we send something to Josh to be shared with the select board?
I think it makes sense to start out with sending a note to
oh,
Josh.
Lisa is here.
Let her.
Hello, welcome, Lisa.
There she is.
And
Now, can you unmute her, or does she have to unmute her?
last time
Hi, Lisa.
okay,
it's on her end.
I think Lisa has to unmute herself.
There we go. Yeah, I'm struggling.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
All right. What did I miss?
Well, your timing is perfect, because we're just about to put you in the hot seat.
Oh dear, is it about, well, okay. Well, I'm sitting down, so I can just pretend it's a hot seat.
You wanna-
Yeah.
Well, we're discussing West White Hill parking, adding additional spaces, adding spaces across from where the new dam is going in, and that
Uh-huh.
to recall, the Richmond Land Trust is putting in, is it 6 to 10 spaces? And there's been a lot of speculation that in peak usage, that would not be sufficient. And so it'd be advantageous for the town to widen the shoulder across the street from the dam.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we're discussing now. And we learned that a conditional use permit is required from the Development Board of Review, and that the estimate of the materials from Pete was $4,000.
Oh, wow.
And we're discussing next steps, I
Yeah.
guess.
Is that land already graded? I mean, it's suitable for parking as it is, except for gravel and so forth being added, or is it still kind of rough from the work?
It's a rough shoulder right now. We've met
Yeah.
with Bob Lowe, who is the landowner, but is in the right of way, and he's all for it.
Oh, good, that helps. Okay.
Our question is, how do we proceed? There seems to be a little bit of work and difficulty in getting the permits in place, and our question is, should we present this to select board and get some kind of a general approval for the concept before we go down that road?
I'll just speak for myself, because I don't know our exact rules for permits and, applications and all that. I haven't had to do one, so I don't know anything about it. I'm supposed to, but nobody knows everything, and I'm far from everything. But the best thing would be to ask Josh about a permit, or you can ask Duncan. He may have a quicker answer or easier to get a hold of. But it does sound like a permit would be the right way, because then that has a life of its own. It has its own circulation and so forth, to notify the people that need to be notified. It pushes a lot of buttons, I guess, when you hand in a permit application. So I'd suggest that. Does sound like the right thing to do. Is it a parking permit application or is it?
It's a conditional use permit.
Ah,
I think it's based on the location that parking is not an approved use, and so it requires a conditional use, is my recollection.
okay. That makes sense, yeah.
The,
By
the,
the way,
the que- yeah, but Lisa, the question we had for you is, should we first send a note to Josh? Indicating what our idea is, and then go with his suggestion as to whether or not we then come sit down with the select board for a few minutes.
That would be fine. You know, you may find that Josh is plenty aware of what's going on there and what your purpose is and your intentions. You know, I mean, the select board works for the town, so you're welcome to have something on the agenda for the select board. But if it doesn't result in any help or anything, it's kind of, you know, just make work. I don't think the select board does not mind hearing about it. I mean, we really appreciate citizens following, you know, the practices that we have and the rules that we have, and seeing it play out is always an education, at least for me. But I think, yeah, to cut to the chase with Josh, send him a note saying what you want to do. And it sounds like you already know that you need to go to the DRB. Is that something that Tyler would set up for you? I think he's the doorkeeper for DRB, I believe.
Well, what we know from Josh is that Pete might be able to help provide some information.
Oh,
And Josh floated the idea of Tyler Billingsley, the town engineer,
mhm.
completing the presentation that would go to the DRB. None of us have expertise.
Yeah. Oh, that would be great.
That's it.
DRB would appreciate it. I mean, he speaks their language, so that's important. Okay.
And Tyler conditional approval that it was the other Tyler probably.
The other Tyler.
Right.
Tyler Macia? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tyler, yeah, he's the zoning administrator. So he's all up on, you know, the DRB work and what requires a DRB review and so forth. And have you gotten advice from Tyler Macia that the DRB does need to look at this? It sounds like
Yes.
true. Okay,
Yes.
okay. Good. Well, it sounds like you've closed the loop on things and just need to follow the path.
Okay.
Okay, good. You know, I know the parking up there I haven't been in the town that long. Andrew Bissett has, you could ask him, but hi, Andrew. The parking has morphed into something that's actually being planned, I guess would be the right word. I know for a long time, parking was just kind of haphazard up there. People would park, oh, there's a spot. Well, it wasn't a spot, it was somebody's yard, but they took it, you know. And I'm surprised that we didn't have any real mayhem happen from haphazard parking in the past. But there's some structure, or not structure, there's some road edges that really shouldn't be parked on. The DRB would ask, you know, someone's opinion about that, maybe just the town engineer or maybe just Tyler Macia. But it's always a good idea to have parking delineated the right way the first time. Otherwise, people get used to parking somewhere and then it turns out they can't. And then, you know, expectations are not met and it gets more complicated.
Okay. I think we got an answer. Thank you, Lisa.
Mhm.
Andrew, welcome. Is there a particular topic you're interested in tonight?
And you're on mute. I think you have to unmute
There you go.
yourself.
Oh,
Okay,
hi.
there you go.
I apologize about out of being late, but I tried to log into the wrong meeting for 15 minutes until I finally realized it's not the right meeting. So
We've all done that.
No lack of meetings around here.
there is a lot of.
Yeah. No. And
Okay,
they're
I
all
don't have any pressing issues. I just thought I'd join in and listen. So
Good. We always like to have an audience. That's helpful.
Welcome.
okay.
And I got question from the audience here.
Oh,
Yes.
Lisa, your hand up.
Yes, Lisa.
Yeah, okay, yeah, just want to be recognized. I don't like to blurt things out. I had told you guys in the past, I was gonna talk with Josh about what parking ordinances were planned and so forth, and you probably know more than I do because you've had your ear to the ground for a while on this issue, but I had thought the town was doing a revision or a revamp of our parking ordinances. That's not exactly the case. We're starting with Volunteers Green. We're wording, I guess, our parking ordinance for that. And that will become, most likely, it will become a model for parking considerations elsewhere in the town, because if we can solve Volunteers Green, it's likely that will work for just about everywhere else too. The volume won't be as big as it would be at Volunteers Green. So I don't know where we are, and I don't even actually know who's working on that. I'm presuming the Planning Commission, Tyler, most likely, and maybe the town engineer's got a little bit of input. Probably the chief of police has got some input. But I had asked Josh about that, and I was pretty far off on what I thought we were doing. So I wanted to let you guys know that's where we are.
All right, thank you.
Mhm.
All right, are we done with Gillette Pond?
Think so?
Then next item is permitting for VTrans parking area on Johnny Brook Road. The 1111 permit. Permanent parking permit update.
So what I learned about that, and I'm working with the District 5 VTrans, is that predating any of us on the committee, we were giving a temporary approval to use that parking area.
Yeah.
And it had been going on for 2 years, and this year they decided they did not want to renew the temporary because it had gone well. They wanted to make it a permanent relationship between VTrans and the town in that parking area, which I think in the long run helps us because we can invest in better road, better signage and all those things because it's a long-term thing. The slight downside to it is that there's going to be a contract between the state and between the town of Richmond for that property, and that is presently being written up by the state. So it's out of VTrans District 5 hands, it's out of our hands. I've warned Josh that this conversation was coming, and he assured me that once it starts, he'll keep me in the loop. Keep us in the loop. I did ask if May 15th was a possibility it would be done by them, and they felt, don't rule it out.
Yeah.
Typically our opening to that parking area anyways. They did ask in the meantime that we not allow parking there until this became permanent. So I believe they've roped off a little bit more down there, and Pete might even put up a couple of no parking signs. So we may hear some pushback a little bit, but hopefully by the time the trails open on May 15th, we'll have the approval from the state, and that'll be a long-term relationship, which is a win.
Yes.
And so Chuck, tell me who again, you said that it's not currently in the hands of VTrans. So who's presently involved?
So we always worked with the guys in District 5 at VTrans for this
Okay.
thing. That's when we had our meetings with and all that stuff. Well, now that it's become a contract, District 5 is no longer involved in it. It's gone up to VTrans out of Montpelier, whoever that is.
So it's still VTrans?
Still VTrans, absolutely.
Okay, I
Yeah.
thought it had gone.
We just don't have that close relationship with whoever it is
Okay.
who's ready to do the new stuff.
Okay.
That's about where we stand on that. I see it as a win or a positive thing. The timing is a little rough. I kind of wish we had known ahead of time this was a temporary situation. But I think if people are patient, this will be a good thing for everybody. So that's good.
Anything else on that?
I will keep everyone abreast as I learn more.
All right, then moving on to item 3, East Cochran Road parking options and railroad land access update. Is that something from John and Diane?
So John had submitted a note that I'll read. We can add it to at least the recorded record.
This is Route 2 parking we're talking
Route 2
about.
parking, so we're talking about parking basically across the Jonesville post office where some of the Be There trucking guys park. We had a conversation with them some years ago and they wanted to rent us the spot, so I will give you John's thoughts. As requested, I did some email archaeology and found where things ended up with WWRR, which is a Genesee and Wyoming Railroad Company, with regard to the railroad right away on Route 2 in Jonesville. Our last contract with them was in April of 2022. Then I checked with Josh and he was not adverse to reopening the conversation with GWRR due to the increased demand of parking and thought that we could gain at least 8 parking areas there. I pulled all the notes of discussion and documents folder. The reason we stopped the conversation was because the last update from Steve Hannon at GWRR told us there was $1,000 fee for them to consider the lease proposal form they sent us. We'd need to add that cost to a refresh with the town's lawyer who helped us redline the proposal lease agreement with GWRR. The lease itself would likely be around $1,800 a year. While this is a considerable amount of money, it's not aligned with some of the other parking work the town has done at PAC's recommendation. Not exactly sure what that refers to. If you are all in agreement, I will reach out to GWRR and see if those terms have changed. So that was John's input there. So with 8 parking spaces, it seems like the lease would be around $1,800 a year with $1,000 upfront for legal fees. I don't know of another situation where we're paying for parking that John commented on there, but.
Yeah, there are costs for improvements, but not yearly
Right.
rental fees
I see
that
what
I
you're
can
saying, yeah.
think of.
Yeah, I struggle a little bit with the thought that you know, we're gonna have families that want to go to the mouth of the Huntington River and that they're gonna cross the railroad tracks and then cross the bridge and the guardrails, which doesn't have a sidewalk and doesn't have a pedestrian area to get to the swimming area. So I mean, if this is the best we can do, I get it. I do think there's some safety issues there.
And one, if there isn't another vehicle in the way, no one's stopping you from parking there right now. Am I thinking of the same area?
I think you're probably right.
Yeah, I was thinking of that as well, and I was wondering, too, what exactly would the 1,800 a year get us? It probably wouldn't be a guarantee that we would be, I think a lot of people will be using it just because it's there. And they might be using it for any number of reasons, post office or.
We would have priority over Be There towing.
Or we
perhaps.
would, right?
That would be disadvantage to them, obviously.
Interesting enough, it seems like Be There Towing has not been parking there much.
Oh, okay.
Maybe a winter thing or a summer thing, or maybe they caught wind that they were asked not to park there. So I don't know what that was, but I agree. I mean, right now it's an open parking area, technically not ethical, but not sure it's illegal to park there. You know what I
I've
mean?
parked there.
John. No, but that's what I mean. I mean, there's
Yeah.
no parking signs there. I suspect if we were to have a lease that we would have signs that would say, okay to park here,
Yeah,
which doesn't change a lot. I don't know.
yeah. I don't know if I'm ready to, I could say, John, go ahead and look into this some more. I don't know if I'm ready to recommend it to the select board.
Yeah. Again, I worry about the railroad tracks, the bridge and
Yeah,
families having to cross that to get there.
yeah.
But if that's the best option, then it's the best option.
I mean, if I wanted to put in Jonesville tomorrow, I guess that's perhaps where I would put in.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I get it. So I guess my thought would be that John could, if John's willing to open up that conversation again with these folks and see what their thoughts are on
Yeah.
it, there's no downside to it.
yeah.
Okay, I think that's fair.
If there's not more to that specific spot, I'll just have a thought on East Cochran Road in general. That I think part of the long-term solution one could hope for is that the land trust will follow through and put in some type of parking in the meadow itself. But they haven't done that yet, and they were seemingly hesitant to do it while they were working on the dam.
Right.
Is that done?
I'm sorry, John, just a quick question. Are we on a new agenda item now, or is the Route 2 parking along with East Cochran Road?
I think we're still on East Cochran
Okay.
parking, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
That, the location of the no parking sign that was put in north of the Duxbury Road is and maybe is accommodating the entrance to the former parking in the meadow. But if that parking wasn't there, I would think that the no parking sign would be closer to Duxbury Road, where there still remains some more level land where it would be more enticing to park than that very steep shoulder. And so Wyden could investigate moving that sign down and taking away what's up there now, some flagging tape or a rope or something. On the other hand, that would be perhaps encouraging the land trust to do nothing. So I don't know what the best solution is.
I tend to agree with you, John, in that the state statute is that you can't park within 30 feet of an intersection.
Yeah.
We'd have to draw a line straight across from Duxbury Road to make sure we're not more closer to 30 feet.
Yeah.
And the other part of that I find a little frustrating maybe, is that right in the parking area, before you get to the no parking sign, there's a recreational park ride single file or something.
Yeah,
sign there
yeah,
that really obscures a good parking area.
right,
At the very least, I'd like to see that sign moved to the other side of the no parking sign
yeah.
and open up a couple spots. So maybe we should put that on our to-do list and each one of us take a look at that and get an idea of how that could be improved.
Okay,
I read the town ordinance on where that no parking sign is. And when we submitted to the select board, we very carefully told them it was X number of feet from a certain spot. The ordinance just says from Duxbury Road to the Huntington River Bridge.
I read that this afternoon,
Yeah,
yes.
so we, if you wanted to move that a little bit, I think you're not changing the ordinance, is what I'm saying. I'm in agreement with it.
Right, and there is some provision about how far back you should be from the intersection, but there would be
Yeah.
some level spots for one or two vehicles that right now it's you're encouraged not to park there.
Yeah, okay.
All right,
Out of that, what did we get? Out of that, we got, yes, let John pursue
Yeah.
the railroad thing.
yes,
Let's pay attention to where those signs are and see if there's room there to gain a spot or two.
yes,
before the
and
next
whether how that fits in, I guess, with the land trust's undefined plans to.
So I want to bring up something I discussed last time I was here that I'm still unclear about. But I glanced to my, the other day when I went hiking down at Honey Hollow. On the way there, I glanced to my left, just past the people that live across from John and Diane. Or or,
Oops.
well, whoever's using that commercial.
Oh, Mark's, yeah.
Okay, well, just past that is where people used to use this little area as a put-in.
Okay.
And I noticed that there's still this little area there. And I was wondering if anybody has looked into, well, who owns that? Who had previously been designating it as a put-in spot for canoeists and such? And could that little area, do you know where I'm talking about?
I do. It used to be called Fusco's house.
Yeah,
There's a little pool right below it there, the river, little eddy, and then right below that, people would put in right there.
and so could that area be revived somehow? Just something to look into. I could see what I could do too. I meant to drive back there this week and take a better look at it. How large is it? What's the possibility for parking there and not just putting in?
No, I think if we're field tripping, taking a look at the other thing, we could certainly take a look as well, see who the owns that real quick.
It's on the left before you get to the old Verba place. The old Verba place.
It is before the Bolton Town line.
Oh, yeah, it's just literally right past John and Diane's. It's not even 50 yards past, maybe 60. On the other side of the road.
Well, it looks like. Looks like that commercial building there is owned by Anan Shield Gardner. And then maybe it might be, what you're talking about might be Lewis and Alita White's maybe. But I don't see anything along that stretch. It's not private property.
Yeah, it may be private, but it probably is. I just know that for a while it was used as a landing.
And is there space to pull off the right of way, pull off
Yes.
the pavement and still be
Yes,
in the town right of way?
yeah, plenty of space.
Okay,
Um,
I'll go look at that.
It may be in the past, somebody had given permission and then taken the permission away, and that's why there's no longer a sign there.
Okay.
I think it said river access or canoe access, one of the two. And it's close, the reason I'm so intrigued by it is it's close enough that people could park there and easily walk to Cochran Road.
Again, well, that sounds like something to take a walk and take a look at. So it's a
Okay.
good idea. I can drill down who the ownership is there. Is that it for Cochran Road?
That's all I have.
Yeah.
Item 4, Lisa's raising her hand and she's muted and are you muted, Lisa?
There, unmuted. I was gonna go, hey, but I couldn't. I was muted. I think that property changed hands recently, or maybe it was late last year.
Yes,
Okay.
You know about that? Okay, because that had all kinds of interesting implications for parking, putting into the river, because there's the land goes right down and it's smooth over there. But whoever bought it, I have no idea what their plans are for it, and it might still be possible, but I don't know.
All right, then we'll move on to number 4, Transportation Committee meeting follow-up. I did not attend that meeting.
I did. In a nutshell, the Transportation Committee is taking a look at Cochran Road. They've hired a consultant firm to take a look at that and track the number of cars that are in there and try to find some balance between recreational use and commuting use. It was a little bit, I felt it was a brainstorming session where a lot of ideas came out that weren't necessarily vetted, but they got conversations started. A sidewalk all the way from the Round Church to the Huntington River. Making Dugway Road one way east to west in the morning and make it one way west to east in the evening, basically, as they said, creating a giant rotary between Route 2 and Cochran Road. And then someone suggested that we make it gravel so the cars would slow down. So again, it was brainstorming, a lot of ideas were just being thrown out there, and as brainstorming sessions go, there's no bad idea.
making what gravel?
Cochran Road,
The whole thing?
the whole thing.
Okay,
But again, it's brainstorming, so that's
Okay.
exactly what's supposed to happen. It was a good chance for everybody to meet the consulting company. They had a good group of people there, very bright, knowledgeable, with good maps and all that kind of stuff. I questioned they threw a number out, 960 cars on Cochran Road a day. And I thought that might have been a little slim. So I asked them what time of year that was done, and they're gonna recheck that, maybe do another test. But it's interesting.
Hmm.
The kind of money some of these other committees are spending out there, and We're worried about paying for stop signs, but. But, and the other, just, I'll throw it in here, the other thing I attended was, Vermont League of Cities and Towns Open Meeting Law thing. And that. There's some procedural things that we could tweak, but none of them are, we're pretty solid. I mean, a lot of that had to do with, if you were a select board, you created a subcommittees of subcommittees and all that kind of stuff. So all in all, I thought, I attended only because Josh had asked for somebody could attend from each committee, so.
Good.
But all that was good and
Andy,
yeah, please.
Hi. I am the one that tossed out that idea to turn it into a one-way
Yeah.
road. And it was just to toss out an idea that is so absurd that nobody's gonna want it. And they're gonna want something else such as a widening the road. Okay, to put in your bike lanes. Yep. So
No, I thought, again, I thought you generated a good conversation with it. I
Yeah.
noticed today on the ride in here, Andy, that they have now painted frost lines on Cochran Road.
they did that today, yes,
Yeah,
but there's no viable space on the
No.
outside of the frost lines and to even a walk
no.
because it's on the edge of the blacktop.
I agree. Lisa, what do you think?
Well, yeah, the last select board meeting, we authorized Pete Gosselin to go ahead and do his striping. We got a whole contract and price for, this, that, and the other thing, but we urged him to actually put the fog lines on Cochran Road as soon as he could, because it tends to slow people down.
Okay.
Oddly enough, it makes the road look narrower, because instead of not being able to see where the edge of the road is, but there's clear space, it tends to encourage people to go faster. That's the last thing we need on Cochran Road. So he painted the fog lines. It should slow people down, we'll see, but there's nothing like a good uniformed officer to make people slow down, but that they are not free by far, and they're spread pretty thin. So, just traffic patrol on Cochran Road can't be always done by police officers. We need to have these little tricks up our sleeve, but that's what's going on there.
Yep.
And you're right, there's no room for a bike lane or for a walking path. There just isn't. I mean, I heard a price to put those in. I don't remember what it was. It was 7 figures, but it's not money that we have. It's not money I would like to spend on that. So I think Cochran's going to remain, pretty much as is for the time being with the fog lines.
I was somewhat concerned that your average motorist is going to expect the cyclist to be on the far side of that fog line. And that,
Right.
Andy, really isn't.
There is none, yeah, and a bike, only a fat tire bike could ride over past that fog line, I think, because it's rocky. It's the skinny tires, the racing tires, whatever, aren't going to survive over there. It's too rough, and it's and then we have the Richard Tom Foundation doing how many bikes, several thousand bikes. We have runners that go up and down there, and those are all sanctioned events, and they apply for a permit and all that, and the road closing is scheduled, and that works because the road is closed. That's the only reason those things work. If the road wasn't closed, it'd be carnage out there, really. So that road, it's too bad it's straight. It's too bad it's flat. We enjoy driving on it. There's not many flat, smooth, straight roads you can find around anywhere. So, but I like the gravel idea. That's kind of interesting. That would get rid of the runners. It would get rid of most of the bikes. It'd slow people down, or they'd lose windshields. Somebody should open a windshield shop right at the end of Cochran Road and do really well. So
There you go. Gravel road and a windshield shop.
yep.
I think I found my retirement job.
There you go. Kind of make your own future there.
Was there more from the transportation committee meeting?
No, I don't think so. I think, I plan on attending a few of these, though, just, I think they were well run and
Mhm.
fully remote, which is interesting, but, I'd just be curious where this is gonna go. So I'm done with that piece.
Yeah, I think Transpo is meeting this week, I think. Oops, I went backwards in my calendar. Anyway, I think, Transpo's meeting tomorrow evening at 5:30.
Okay,
All right, should we move on to item 5?
please do.
Confirm the next PAC meeting is on 5/13. I guess I'll say in a related matter, I sent my application in for another term to Wendell, and I don't know when this term expires, but it's soon, so if the select board approves it, I will be able to continue attending meetings.
I did the same and I've not heard back either, so.
Yes.
Will people be terribly offended? Carolyn and I have dinner plans for my birthday on the 13th.
Oh, okay.
And so, I probably won't attend unless people consider it absolutely vital.
Oh,
Okay, sorry,
So we don't know for a fact that we have a quorum, so we should confirm with
yeah,
either John or
and we
Diane.
can do that via email.
Okay,
So let's strike 5/13 until we come up with a better date.
okay. All right,
Seem
so
reasonable, no?
see if we
Yeah.
can get all 5 of us present.
Yeah, it'd be nice to get.
yeah.
Okay,
All right,
And we needed to approve Chuck's minutes.
I did learn at the Vermont League of Cities and Towns meeting that approval of minutes is not a requirement,
oh.
but we approve my minutes.
I second.
Okay,
Aye. Thank
Aye.
you.
yeah,
The status of the PAC email changes.
Okay, so the background on this was that we found that we had a Gmail parking advisory committee account that none of us were getting the emails.
oh, interesting.
I had thought that we should have a Richmond Town email address. Thus, it would be a little more official. According to John, he said, John Cone, so that he now has straightened out the Gmail account so that we'll be getting copies of the Gmail, because that account shows up in a couple of places. He discussed the email, getting a town email address, and according to him, Josh would prefer not to have committees having a town email address. And we should have a Gmail address, which as a former business owner makes no sense to me at all, because now you have a town with no access to, no oversight over the email or the archives or anything else. What do you think, Lisa?
I suspect Josh's reason is because it opens those up to discovery on a Freedom of Information Act request. And some people just go fishing just to see what they can find in town emails, official emails. And it's not like there's anything you guys are doing that's, nuclear secrets or anything, but there can be something that someone, how something can be misconstrued or twisted. The more there is, the more that can happen. So his concern mainly is just to not have, somewhat loose discussions, which we need to kick problems around, and, wild ideas are thrown out and they turn out to not be, not work or whatever, that's fine, but they're still in the record. So that's kind of stuff can come back a year later and when everybody forgot about it and hamstring us. So he'd rather it just be a regular, I guess he said Gmail, rather than a town, a Richmond VT email address. So that's the reason I think he's saying that.
Does that ever run us awry of the Freedom of Information Act when people can't look into those things?
Oh, you should ask Matt Buckley. But,
I do family court.
oh, okay.
Yeah,
That's,
I did.
that's probably
That was-
harder.
Yeah, that was my practice.
Okay.
So I don't know, and plus I'm just doing mediation now.
Mhm.
uh,
Oh, wow.
I can-
Okay.
Yeah, but that brings up the question though, and it's a fair question then.
Mhm.
We are, those of us on the committee are using our various regular private email addresses.
Right.
Not extensively at all. I mean, you know, when just little things like what you sent out today, Chuck.
Mhm.
But maybe we should stop doing that entirely and instead be exclusively using a PAC Gmail address, however little we use it.
Hmm. That's
I'm just,
That's a tough one.
I'm just wondering if it's a good idea that we're using private email.
Then each and every one of us would have to be checking this email on a daily basis.
Well, that's, yeah,
Or have it
Have it,
transcribed over to your Gmail account.
Yeah,
or your
yeah,
Yahoo or
yeah.
whatever.
Mhm.
okay.
Do other committees not have a town, that was a backward question. Do any committees have a town email address?
I don't know. Duncan would be the one to ask, and I'll ask him the next time I see him. I trying to think. I would ask maybe Virginia Clark of Planning Commission, because the Planning Commission seems to do a lot of, needs to do really a lot of Q&A back and forth with developers, with residents, questions. I can think now, you know, Jelena Court has generated thousands of questions and answers, I'm sure. I don't know how they're running that information stream. Virginia would rather all information go through the meetings, so that, you know, it's a warned meeting, it's on the record, it's logged, it's videotaped and so forth. And that is great. And of course, things come up in between. Somebody the next day asks, oh, I forgot to mention this, you know, what do you think? Virginia would rather have those things delayed for a week or two and brought up at the Planning Commission meeting, rather than addressed by email, because and so, Chuck, I think it was you who mentioned the open meeting law and all that. Very quickly, it gets to be difficult to keep decisions and info together coherently, because the public has a right to see it if it affects, you know, a decision, or is even relevant to a decision by your group or any town committee. So it's more, I think it's more flexible. They maybe not all that satisfactory, but I think it's more flexible and certainly more private to use the personal emails for little messages like, are you going over to take a look at the parking area, you know, that we were talking about the other day? You know, when can I meet you there? That's not a public meeting, it's just the two of you. And, you know, that kind of stuff needs to have a forum. But I don't think the town wants it as official business. I guess I'll have to throw you back to Josh to get a good answer on it, but I know he's you're right, he's not fond of having all that email traffic through the town's Richmond VT either .org or probably .org, but he doesn't really want that all in the town's stream.
I think our committee is very good about sending out informative emails, but we have no discussions. So,
That's a great way to put it. They are informative but not substantive.
right,
Like next meeting,
Mhm.
or so-and-so will be late, or something like that. But
Right.
I'm trying to recall, I'm just looking at a few emails. I'm trying to recall. I'm not aware of any, off the top of my head, any Gmail thread where we got into anything substantive.
Mhm.
So we just don't do that.
Right.
So
My concern would be that, you know, if the committee went off the rails or someone obviously on the committee has the control over the email account, if they left the committee or whatever it was,
Mhm.
town does not have control over that, which makes me wonder, does the town have any control over our Google Docs that we keep on the cloud? Or could some, and one of us in the committee who's dissatisfied with things, just start deleting things? I mean, I look at this from an employer world. So as an employer, I don't want to give this control to the people who work for me and be held hostage by them. I would have thought that Josh would have jumped all over this.
I think, I'm gonna think out loud, not that I'm an expert, I'll just think, but, the use of email services outside of the towns isn't controlled by the town, can't be controlled by the town, and can't be pinned on the town either, you know, if you want to put it that way. And I think that's a good thing. If something is important enough that it's going to wind up, you know, entering a decision or becoming part of a decision, that has to be discussed at an open meeting with, you know, following the open meetings law. And I guess the preamble to whatever was discussed kind of doesn't really matter where and when it happens. If it's brought to the meeting and it becomes part of the discussion, part of the record, then there it is. If it winds up not ever reaching that point, then did it ever happen? I don't know, only in people's memories. That's a lot cleaner of a landscape for the town to be able to maintain than if we had to worry about individual email accounts and what's in them, and, you know, and of course, you know, we might be using those for other totally different things also, because we have an email account and it's handy and I couldn't remember the other address, so I use this one. Or, you know, it gets very difficult for the town to manage the documentation in those emails if we had to. So I think Josh would rather not face that. We'd have to hire a couple more people, have an email department. So the way he's setting it up is kind of, you know, it's catch as catch can, sort of. So it's up to, I think it's up to the various committees to make sure that important stuff, facts that they're gathering and using for decisions are made visible at a public meeting, you know, a warned meeting, and enter the record in the minutes and the video. And that's it. You know, anything else that happens outside, we can all assume that it was not official business or didn't reach the bar of being material. That's my guesswork on it, and you're welcome to quote me, but I can't be punished for it.
I think we should at least have this conversation with Diane and John next time they're here.
That's a good
idea.
idea. Yeah, for the whole committee.
Didn't expect this to be a difficult conversation, but it.
Well, there's a, I don't have any idea of how many FOIA requests come to the town, but from what I understand, it's a lot. You could ask Jay Furr. Jay knows a lot about a lot of things. Jay is very vocal, I guess, about, you know, FOIA requests, and he knows that people will file them to be a nuisance. He knows that people will file them because they're looking for something, and, you know, the harder you look, or you turn over enough rocks, you do find things, and then you can build something out of it. He knows that this, unfortunately, in this world, there are people who just do that just to find something that they can run up the flagpole and go, look, see this? You know, this is terrible. So we're trying not to provide fodder for people who want to just make noise out of it.
But by the same token, we've had instances in the past, work-wise, that there was misconduct among the employees, and because the emails were on our server, we could search for certain words.
Yeah.
To cover what they were doing that wasn't right.
Well, that's a good point too. I guess I'm guessing, and I'm pretty sure that we are hanging our hats and our hopes on the open meetings law, and that we do have good transcripts, good video. We have people who've been trained. I mean, Chuck, I saw you at the meeting, the VLCT thing on open meeting law, and a lot of people were there. I think there was 100 people. Virginia Clark was there. I couldn't even see everyone who was there. I was too busy listening. And that is really our defense. If we're following the law, open meetings law and whatever other laws we have to follow, then we're covered. You know, we've done our part. You know, communication is, it's kind of like either under the radar or it has to be always in the radar. It's kind of no in between. So unless we want to have to do everything on a, you know, a town.org or .gov server, you know, and each have an account on there with our own names on it and whatever other rigmarole. I only have a .org one. I don't have a .gov. Nor do I want one. I think, you know, unless we do that, we're better.
Yeah, let's put it on the agenda and bring John and Diane into this.
Yeah,
That's a good idea. Yeah.
And what's next on our,
reserved for additions. At least initially, there weren't any.
I'm content. Andy, anything you want to add? We're getting ready to wrap up unless you had something you want to chat about.
Yeah. No, I don't have anything to chat about, you know, and that's it.
All right,
Okay, well,
are we ready to adjourn the meeting?
take a motion. I'm all over it.
I'll move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Thank you all.
Good night, and I will stop the
Thank you. You guys are good.
recording.